So if there is any difference in the results you get, some best practices, we follow a proper template and also we follow best. As the summary, you can have the title. Again, the title should be very clear. Then the option for the severity. Hello my dear friends, welcome back to Kiwi Bro. Another Friday and I am back with another video. So if you can remember, last week we discussed about test case management and then I demonstrated the tool as well. And at the end of the video I mentioned that the next part is about manual testing and bug reporting. There is nothing much for me to explain or demonstrate regarding the manual testing, because at the manual testing step what you need to do is like go through the steps written in your test cases and perform those and get the result, actual result, and then compare expected result versus the actual results. So if there is any difference in the results you get on the user flows or the logs or anything with the expected outcome which is mentioned in the test case. So if there is a mismatch, means there is a potential bug. It might not be a bug as well, because there could be some other reasons like the incorrect test cases, incorrect test data or test step. Likewise, those could be also a reason. Also, it could be a bug as well. So in that case, now if you got like different results as I mentioned, now you need to like maybe thoroughly check the results versus the test case, and all these things you need to go through again, and then you need to clearly identify what causes this, whether it was incorrect data or did you perform the steps incorrectly, or those related to some other environmental issues or something likewise. After you finalize those things and after you investigate all those things and you make sure if it is an actual bug, next step is to report these bugs. When reporting the bugs, there are also some you have different things like the best practices, and those things we can discuss those things today. If you can remember about the best practices to follow for the test cases, similarly we have some best practices while reporting the bugs as well. Again, we need to realize like why we need to report the bugs. As I mention every time, first you need to realize why you do this thing, and then you can do it. Then since you know the purpose, you can do it better. Yeah, so why you report the bugs? So you do the testing and you identify some differences in the results, and then you investigate and find it's actual bug on your system. So then you go and report the bug. So why you report the bug? Because bug reporting will be useful for different parties, like almost all the stakeholders. How? So for the developers. So now since they have the bug report, so their developers easily can see the steps and everything. So they can easily reproduce the bug for fixing. After they reproduce it, now they can debug and they can identify the root cause, and then they can fix the bug. If the bug report was not clear and if you didn't follow a proper template, then it will be a bit hard for the developer to reproduce the issue and to get the necessary details. So in that case, he might have to come back and ask from you again. So it will waste time for both the parties. But if you have a proper bug report at first place, so then the developer will quickly go through it and then he can easily identify the steps to reproduce, and also maybe if you provide more logs and all the details there, so he can easily debug and then he can identify the root cause and he can do the fix easily. And also it will be useful for the project managers as well, since we discussed about these things in the test planning as well, about the stats and also the exit criteria. For all these things, this bug reporting will be useful, because like when you report the bug, and there will be other fields like the severity, priority, those information as well. I will walk you through it in the next slides. So like if you have all these details in place, it will be useful for categorizations. Then you can get these stats. Based on these stats, the project managers and the top management can make their decisions about the next releases, whether to hold it or whether we can proceed it. Then also they can prioritize the bugs for the next release likewise. So they also can plan, since they have correct data as you have reported all these bugs. And also again for the other stakeholders, like the clients, maybe if you are sharing these details, then they also have a rough idea like what is the status. Likewise, and also for the quality engineers as well, again, if they want to reproduce something, or else for the next cycle, if they want to prioritize some testing, so they also can refer this bug report. So then using these, they can identify like what are the areas where much of the bugs were detected. If you can remember about the 80-20 rule, can you remember the Pareto principle? Those things we discussed in our last videos. So likewise, they can do these categorizations, and then they can identify the most bug prone components, and then they can prioritize their testing as well. So likewise, this bug reporting will be useful for all the stakeholders of your project. So in that case, we need to make sure we follow a proper template, and also we follow best practices, and we report all the bugs we found. So yeah, now let's go through the best practices. Since now you know the purpose of bug reporting, now we can go through these best practices and the template later. So yeah, as I mentioned, the bug report will be useful for the developers to reproduce the bug. So in that case, you need to make sure that you report or you mention all the essential data. So in this case, like all the essential data means all the steps. Then the test data. So if this bug is related to a specific user role or something, then you need to mention about the user roles and the credentials as well. And then again, if this is related to some specific environment in the sense, I mean like any device or OS browser, likewise. So all those details you need to make sure you report those things in your bug report. Likewise, you need to make sure you report all these essential data in your bug report, or you go through all these things like the steps, then the actual outcome, the expected outcome, then the data. Likewise, you need to make sure everything. Then the environment, as I mentioned, yeah, because if this bug is related to a cross-browser testing related scenario, and the particular feature or anything, the bug related area is working correctly in, let's say, on Windows Chrome browser, but the issue is with the Mac Safari. So in that case, if you didn't mention this environment, the developer will check first only on his local browsers, and then he might mark as the bug as invalid or can't reproduce, because we missed to mention the environment correctly, and then he checked on his local and it worked for him. In that case, again, not all the essential data was not mentioned. In that case, we need to make sure the environment we clearly mention in these special scenarios. If the bug is reproducible on all these cross-browser platforms, then there is no need to mention it specifically. But again, if it is related to a particular environment or any special scenario, then yeah, you need to make sure it correctly. So again, maybe if it is related to the responsiveness, maybe you can mention about the width, the sizes, or the device, those information as well. And also, if you need to give more information to the developers for the fixing or debugging purposes, you can attach some screenshots. Also, if you have logs, you can show these error logs and all those information as well as a proof. Actually, it's not only for the proof purposes, but it will be for giving more details, like for the visual help. Because like if you just tell the steps, and then if you tell the expected outcome and the actual outcome in text, but it might be a bit hard to understand. But if you have this like a clear visual representation, maybe a screenshot at the failure, or else some log traces, then it might be more useful for the developers for the debugging purposes. So then they can easily catch the scenario. That's why we need to attach this extra detail as well for proof. And again, when like reporting these bugs, we need to make sure that we report or we put the specific details. Yeah, I mentioned that we need to put all the essential data, but in that case, it doesn't sense that like all unnecessary data shouldn't be there. So we say it like KISS. KISS means keep it stupid simple. So when you report the bug, you need to make sure like all the specific essential data in very simple format, like where anyone can come and read it and understand. So it should be very understandable to anyone. So even for a new developer who joined the project even today, most of the time, because to groom these developers, we might start with bug fixing, because then it will give them a better chance to like go through the code, go through the system, and then do debugging and understand the system, and then they can get going. So bug fixing is one of best grooming options for the developer. So in that case, since he also doesn't have much context about the project, since he is new, he also should be able to understand the bug just looking at that given information. So that's why I mentioned that we need to be specific without telling all these unnecessary details or without complicating it. If you can remember, we mentioned this under the test cases as well. We need to keep it simple, not to complicate things. So same thing applies for bug reporting as well. We need to keep it stupid simple. So that's the term, stupid simple KISS. I hope you understand the things which I talked up to now. So yeah, next, don't hesitate. So sometimes when we have a bug or when we have an issue, we might hesitate because we have no idea, like not much idea about whether it's an actual bug or could it be some other scenario like environmental issue or this data issue. So don't be hesitate. First, like try to reproduce. So yeah, we have it in the as the last item on the best practices as well. So once you face the issue or bug, so like let's say issue, because we still don't know whether it's a bug or not, right? So while you do the testing, okay, now you face some issues related to the difference in the actual outcome versus expected outcome. So now this is the place. Now you think, okay, whether it's a bug or did I miss something? So that the hesitation comes in. So don't hesitate. Try to reproduce it. Follow the same steps again. Then if you can reproduce it again, now you are a bit more confident about the issue before the last time. Since like you can reproduce the same issue by following the same steps again, now you are a bit more confident. So don't hesitate. If you hesitate and if you think, okay, I might done something wrong or it is not a bug, could be some other environmental issue or something, and if you didn't try to reproduce it or didn't report it and you just skip that and go to the next one, what if it was actual bug and if it is reproducing the production as well? So you had the chance at your hand but you didn't grab it, isn't it? You just give it up because of your hesitation. So in that case, don't be hesitate. Yeah, in that case I don't say like go and report everything, all the invalid scenarios and those. No, that's why I said when you face an issue, again try to reproduce it. Then now you know, okay, 2 times it happened, it could be a possible issue. And also again another scenario like second time it might not be reproduced by following the same step, because it could be due to some data or some other scenario which you couldn't replicate exactly same in the second scenario. So in that case again you can't say it is not a bug, because those things can happen. It depends on the, maybe could be the network issues related to network issues or the data we had at that particular moment, or other requests, could be anything. We need to replicate, we might not be able to replicate all those exact scenarios in the next time, and we might not be able to reproduce, but in that case you need to investigate further. That's why I mentioned you need to keep these screenshots, you need to get these log traces, and if possible, yeah, you can share the console logs and the network traces, everything with the developers in these complicated scenarios. Yeah, if it is straightforward, you can just put the steps, the screenshots and the necessary logs, that's it. But something like this, these complicated scenarios, whether like some scenarios which are a bit hard to reproduce, so in that case, even if you are also not sure about the exact steps, but don't skip, because it's a bug at the end of the day. We don't know at production, the very next second when you deploy it, it might occur. So we can't skip any saying it's hard to reproduce or anything. who knows what will happen on the production. If it is a bug, that's a bug. That's it. You need to investigate and report it. So try to reproduce. Then, if it is hard to reproduce, share your findings, and then all the other network traces, console logs, like that. Anything which you think like might help the developers to identify or to deep dive into the issue, then share all those information. So again, don't hesitate. And then avoid criticism, because it's not a battle between the developers and the quality engineers where like you try to find bugs and try to criticize the developers saying you guys haven't done your job correctly. No, that is not. Because at the end of the day, all these teams are working together. It's a teamwork to give your clients the best product. So when the clients or your customer, when they are using and when they face a issue on your system, they will not blame the developers or the quality engineers. They will blame your product. So it will come to your organization. So in that case, avoid criticism, because even no developer will purposefully release any bugs with their release, isn't it? So they will also do testing. But okay, let's say there is another scenario. Like if there are so many bugs released to quality engineers from the developer releases, then why is it? Because there are some issues with your process. Yeah, you need to increase your developer testing. You need to increase your unit testing coverage. Likewise. So those are the things you can do to improve your process, but not to blame anybody. There is no one who is willingly putting these bugs into the lower environment or the production. Again, if there are any bugs related to the production, don't blame the quality engineers, because they are not purposefully releasing those things. What you need to do is like you need to do a root cause analysis. Why this was missed? Whether we did enough testing, or was it hard to reproduce, or was it related to the data which we didn't have at non-production, or why? So now you know why it released or why we missed it. So next time you will not miss it, because you learned a lesson from the last time, and then because you learned a lesson from last time and you improved your process. Maybe you improved your the testing, the scripts or the automation, or how the environments behave, like the environments, the data, or the anything like you try to simulate the production similar setup at low environment, and likewise there could be different scenarios. Like however, it applies to all the levels, at the developer levels, at the quality engineer levels, likewise. So avoid criticism at any level, because no one will try to release or no one will purposefully release those issues. So what you need to do is learn from what you missed, and then next time make sure that you won't do the same mistake again. So in that case, all the time with these learnings, you need to improve your process. So however, when writing the bugs or when reporting or when in your meetings, avoid criticism. You need to have a good relationship between the developers and the quality engineers. Then it will make a healthier team, which is very useful for your organization or for your the project or the product. So there's a small equation here called 1 bug equals 1 issue. That means like when you report issues, put 1 bug, or in your reporting mechanism, whether it's a tool or manually using Excel sheets or something, it doesn't matter. However, 1 issue, 1 bug. Don't mix these issues in 1 bug. Oh, here bug means under 1 report. Don't put, because it will complicate things and it will mix things up. And also, if you report 2 issues together, maybe the developer will read through the first one and he will fix it, and he might miss the second one. And again, at the retesting level, you will also miss to again catch the second one. You will read through the first one, okay, verify it, and you will close the bug. And then here you will miss the second scenario and you will release it to production. So don't report multiple issues together. 1 bug equals 1 issue. For all the issues, you need to have different IDs. I hope it's clear. And again, you need to avoid duplicates. It's to save your time and the developer's time and to make the stats correct. Otherwise, like if you report the same issue multiple times, the stats will show incorrect data. And again, developers have to go through the same issue time to time under different bugs, and it will take their time to identify that it was fixed earlier. And for you as well, the quality engineers also, it will like you have to do the same testing multiple times for the same duplicated the bug. So in that case, when you identify a bug, if you can't remember like it was already reported, then maybe you can do a quick check or quick search on your tool to identify like whether this was reported earlier or not. Then if not, you can report. Or else if it is already reported, you can escape it. But make sure that in that case, the already reported bug is in open state. If it is already closed, then okay, the bug is not fixed, you can reopen. Don't report a fresh one, just reopen the last one. It's because to keep the track of the history. Because on the last ticket or the last bug, it might have all the details, the other information shared by developers, the quality engineers while doing the testing, and all the PR details might have been linked. So then it will be easy for the next one to fix it by following the old details. But instead, if you report it as a new bug, so then the people might forget about the last one, and then they might have to spend more time again from the scratch to go through all these details. So in that case, if it is already reported and now it is closed, and if you can reproduce it again, just go and reopen the previous bug. And as I mentioned, always try to reproduce before reporting. Okay, so the next part is about the bug reporting template. If you can remember, last time I shared a template for test cases as well. Now we have a template for bug reporting. So again, I want to mention this is not the one and only template for bug reports. These are like what I feel like most important attributes for your bug report. You can drop things or you can add things based on your needs. So to start with, again, the bug ID. Similarly, we had test case ID to uniquely identify the test cases. Similarly, for bugs, you need to have a bug ID, a unique ID. If you are using a particular tool to report bugs, then those tools will create the bug IDs automatically. But if you are using a manual system like the Excel sheets or something, in that case, make sure that you have a proper mechanism or proper convention to have unique IDs for your bugs. And then as the summary, you can have the title. Again, the title should be very clear. It should be easy to understand, and also it should have like the most necessary information which highlights this particular bug. So anyone who come and read this without going through all the other details should be able to grab quickly some idea about what this bug is, to have the high level idea. So just after reading the title, he should be able to grab some high level idea about this bug, and then he can go and read the other information to have the other detailed information. So in that case, make sure you have a proper title to your bug. And then as I mentioned under the best practices, you need to mention the environments when it's needed, especially in these cross-browser testing scenarios, the devices, operating system, then the browser, and sometimes the versions as well. Those things also needed. And also maybe if you have some plugins installed at your browser. So sometimes your system might not work correctly due to these third-party plugins. It can happen. This is like my personal experience. We face some issues like that when due to this some other third-party plugins, some scenarios can be there. So in that case, in such a scenario, you need to make sure that you share these details as well, like what are the third-party plugins you need to have installed in your browser in order to reproduce this scenario. Those information also need to be mentioned. Then the most important part, the steps to reproduce. So like if you are following a test case, and then if you face this issue, yeah, you can then simply uh, take all these steps from your test case directly. And also in that case, let's say for example the test case had like 10 steps. In those 10 steps, like first 5 steps were like related to one scenario, and then after that the next 5 scenarios like which are related to reproducing this issue. It's not necessary to follow the first 5 steps for reproducing the issue. Just like going through the latter 5 steps also you can reproduce. In that case, don't mention the top 5 steps, because we need to keep this simple and not to make things complicated. We don't need to put all the unnecessary details. Only the steps which are really needed to reproduce this bug is enough. And then you need to mention about the test data, all the credentials, if it is related to a particular user or user role or group, all this information. And then if you can maybe give the credentials, the username, password, then it will be very easy for the developer. Otherwise, he will have to create a user, or else he have to go through all the existing users and identify a machine user. So you can save his time also by sharing these credentials as well. Then the most important part, the expected results versus the actual result, because this is where it will be a bug. If there is a difference in actual result versus expected results, yeah, likewise. So in that case, you need to clearly mention what was the actual result. Like if you can quote some requirements directly, then it's better to mention those as well. So if you have a SRS document or a user story, then yeah, link it here, so it will be easy for the developer, so then he can get additional information related to the feature from there as well. And expected result versus actual result. In actual result, you can add, as I mentioned, for the proof, you can put some screenshots as well, and then about these logs and those things, yeah, for the proof you can mark. So then again we have another 2 important things, the priority and the severity. So these are like very important things. You might feel like whether these are the same thing or 2 different things. Yeah, those are 2 different things. The priority means how fast should it be fixed. On the other hand, the severity means what is the impact from this particular issue. So for the priority and severity, you can have multiple values like low, normal, high, critical, blocker, likewise. It depends on your project. Again, these priority severity things can be useful for your filtering purposes and the categorization purposes. And if you don't have much time and you are very close to your release date, now you can't fix all these bugs. Now you can do filterizations between this priority and the severity. You can do a grooming and then team discuss, or based on the business purpose or the business team decides. The priority, maybe they can change. The severity, it depends on the feature or the actual the impact. So then the management might take a decision to fix only the high priority ones with this release, and we will all the low priority ones. So that's why the priority and severity are important. And then the reporter and the assignee who reports this issue, we are putting the name, because when someone else is fixing or later time when they are fixing, if they want to get more information, okay, then they can come back and ask from the reporter. So that's why we put the reporter's name, not to blame. And also there will be an assignee. When it is in development, the developer is the one has this ticket assigned, and then when it is in testing, it's the quality engineer. Likewise, the assignee will change depend on the status, and the additional attributes also can be there depend on your project and your needs. And yeah, as I mentioned, status is also needed, because from status you can see whether it is new, whether it is open, whether it is closed, whether it is in testing or it is in development. Likewise, the status also need to be there. So like these are the main the important things should be in your bug report template. As I mentioned, you can have more or you can reduce from here based on your need. Okay, next, this is very important, the bug life cycle. So when you identify a bug and then when you report it, now it will be in the new state. These are the statuses. So depend on the life cycle stage, you can change the state of your bug. So it will start with new state, and then it will be assigned to a developer. to fix, or then it will be after assign. So new these three, like at the initial stage also these three can be done directly, because like if you know the person to whom should this be assigned, then you can directly assign it and put directly it in the open. Or if not, if we going to put these bugs for grooming, till that if we are putting this in backlog, in that case you can start with the new state, then at the grooming, or the maybe the team or the management, or based depend on your the project, the process you follow, it will be in the backlog, and at the grooming time they will pick those things, and then you can put it aside, and from backlog you can move it to your team. And then now it is at the development stage. At the development stage, oh, now the developer is checking at this open level. So now he will mark, so let's say it is not an actual bug, or this is a duplicate, or else this will be rejected as invalid. Likewise, if some scenario like that happen, a duplicate, rejected, not a bug, so then he will mark and it will close. Also while closing, so he will put why it was closed, duplicate closed, or rejected closed, or not a bug, and then close. Likewise, that also need to mention. And also at the open stage they can defer it for a future release, because with the time we have, we don't have enough capacity or time to fix it now, but it is an actual bug, valid bug. So then the stakeholders discuss and decide to hold it till the next release maybe. So in that case we put it under deferred. So that is open state, but it's like the priority now we defer to future. So when the decided time is come, you can pick those bugs and then again move back to open. From there you can fix it. Okay, so those are like different stages. We can go from the open stage. From open, as I mentioned, you can close or defer. The other part, the scenario, is the fixed. So developer will fix the issue and he will put into ready for testing stage. Because once he fix, he can't close it saying fixed. He need to ask a quality engineer to do a retest and verify whether it's fixed or not. So then he will put it in ready for retesting. Then a quality engineer will get it assigned to himself and he will do the retesting. From the retesting, it could be reopened as well, because it could be partially fixed, not fully fixed, or not even fully fixed. So likewise, those scenarios can happen. So from the retesting level, you can reopen. Again, it will go the same cycle. Or else, from the retesting, so if you find it fixed, you can mark as verified closed. So this is a simple stage, or the main stages in your bug life cycle. Then as I mentioned, the main two things, the severity versus priority. So let's discuss more about these two. I mentioned the priority is about how fast the bug should be fixed. The severity, what is the impact? How much impact can it cost in your system? Okay. So as I mentioned, there can be scenarios like high severity but low priority. That means if this bug occurs, the impact is high, or it is a blocker, the feature is not working at all, could be. But low priority means the possibility of happening this could be very low. So in that case, it is not very important to fix sooner. For example, let's say this issue occurs only for like 1% of our users. But when this happens, the user can't do anything. They have to log out and log in back. Something like this. Since this is happening for very low percentage, like 1%. So for the time being, since we have some other issues, we can deprioritize this. But since the priorities, or whether the impact, even the impact is high, but the possibility is low, it goes with the possibility. Since the possibility is very low, you can mark it as a low priority one for the time being. And also there can be the vice versa, low severity but high priority. That means there is like the impact is very low, but the reproducibility or the possibility of happening this bug is very high. So in that case, maybe you can mark the priority as high. For example, let's say issue with the branding. The logo some issues with your logo, the branding or the color. Those things are very impactful things for your business. So in that case, you need to mark the severity as low, because there is not impact to the feature. Even the logo is even not there, you can still use the system, but the logo is for branding and the marketing purposes. So in that case, the severity is low because the feature is working, but the priority need to be high because the impact or the possibility or the reproducibility, because everyone sees it, and also it can have a negative impact on your company. So likewise, you need to think about the priority in that case, and you need to mark the priority as high. So even though the severity is low, priority is high in this case. So likewise, vice versa, there can be different scenarios. Low severity, low priority; high severity, high priority. Likewise, you can put these the attributes you need to use. And then now the filterizations you need to do based on these two properties. The severity, the priority, likewise, that is a business decision, and you need to do the grooming with the team, and then from there you can do the backlog refinement to identify the bugs to fix. Okay, so I hope these things are clear. Then again, as I mentioned, for bug reporting also, either you can do it manually or using automated system. I prefer if you can use a system, because again, due to you can follow a good template, and you have other features, and due to the high availability, and also to have not to lose any information. Unfortunately, if you don't have such tool to use, then yeah, at least you need to use some manual bookkeeping system. And if you do a quick Google search, you can find there are so many bug reporting tools as well. Again, these are there are free tools and there are license versions as well. So you can decide based on your needs and based on your requirements and based on the management decision, you can decide which tool to use for your organization. So there are like hundreds and thousands of tools, as you saw. These are like a couple of tools which I wanted to show you. Bugzilla is a free and open source one, so you can download their code from the GitHub repository, and then you can host it and you can use it for free. Bugzilla, you can use it with Testopia, but this was like very popular back like couple of few years back, but nowadays it's not that much popular, because now we have like some commercial tools which provide more features and all the other integrations and everything. And also, if you want, like Bugzilla has a hosted demo site, but again, you can't use this for your actual project needs, because these databases will be refreshed every time. So in that case, just for the demo purposes, you can try out it here, and then you can host it and you can use the Bugzilla. For today, I will use the same tool which we discussed last week for the test cases, the Kiwi test case management system. The same system you can use for the bug reporting as well. And also, one of the most popular tools nowadays are like the Jira from the Atlassian, but it's not for free, but it comes with good handy features, so you can give a try on those as well. So yeah, however, on the Kiwi, since this is the free tool, I will show you this for the bug as well. So under testing, you can see there is option to report new bugs. From here, you can report the bugs for your product. Okay, so once you click the new bug option, so you will be landed here at this form, the page. So as you already know, you can customize these attributes on your hosted application. Since this is the demo version, we have to strict with these available attributes, but there are other attributes as well. You will see those in your hosted application. So yeah, the first, like as I mentioned, you need to put the title. You need to make sure you put a clear title here, so then it will be easy for anyone to understand a high level idea about the bug just by looking at the title. Then the option for the severity. Currently there are no data for these drop downs. Yeah. And then you can select the product, and then the version, the build, and then yeah, you can put the assignee if you know to whom you should assign it. Then you need to mention the other information like about the description, and then these things again, this is directly coming from one of the templates here. You can change these templates. Then the steps to reproduce, the actual result, expected results, then the additional info like the screenshots, the log traces, the network traces, those things you can put here, and then you can save this as a bug. Here currently it's not showing the status, but when you report it, the status will be in new. Then after that you can change the status based on your the stage on your life cycle of your bug, as we discussed. So yeah, I hope now everything is clear for you related to bug reporting and the bug management, the bug life cycle, those information. So this is like one stage in your the quality engineering day-to-day life, like where you have to spend most of your time with the bugs, because you will get multiple releases. Then you need to do the testing, identify bugs, report. Then you will get the bug fix release. Then you need to go through the bugs again, and then you need to verify those fixed bugs or reopening or closing, depend on the state. Likewise, so yeah, I hope everything which we discussed are clear up to now. If you have any questions, you can reach me out. You know how. Yeah, using the kiwibro.pro@gmail.com, or you can drop a comment here. I am happy to help any of you. So with that, we come to an end to today's video. And if you turn around and check about our last 8 videos, we up to now we have discussed a lot related to the basics and the foundation level related to the quality engineering. I hope now you have a very good understanding about what quality engineering is and what are the basic stuff there. And if you are an undergraduate or entry level quality engineer, I hope now you gain more passion towards the quality engineering. And if you were looking for a job now, I think with the basics which we have covered, now it will be very easy for you to start your career as a quality engineer at an entry level job. And with that, I hope we can end this, not the QE journey, not the channel, but the foundation level part. So if you can remember, in very first videos I mentioned that without learning this thing, there is no point of go and jump into the middle and learn the advanced stuff. I hope now you understand why. Since now you have the basics in your mind and you have a good foundation, on top of that you can build your career to become a senior level engineer. So it will be very easy for you to learn the advanced stuff when you have this the foundation level stuff in your mind. Even if you go to the automation, you have to know the basics from the test designing, test level, test management, those stuff. So I hope my plan worked, or my plan was successful to start this with the foundation level stuff. So from next week we can start on some another part related to the quality engineering journey.